Welcome to the Voice of EMS. I am Charles McFall here with One EMS at the Georgia EMS Association. I'll say EMS again just to throw EMS in there one more time. But the Georgia Association, where we're at the Provider and Educators Conference, and I'm in Ronnie, Thompson. And what do you do, Ronnie? Who are you with today?
I am a paramedic with Elbert County EMS.
All right. So how long have you been in the field?
Right at 21 years.
That's a good long time.
Yes, sir.
Good long time. What is it about EMS that you love? Why do you do what you do?
Well, you know, at the risk of sounding like every question that you've ever heard, it really is still, for me, being able to get out and help
It's the money,
people.
right? It's the richness. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've given up on my first million and started on my
The
second.
yeah.
But it really is about getting out and talking to people. And while the job more and more gets monotonous, it seems, there's still that one that you help, that you really make a difference for, that you go home and realize this is what I do it for. So
I got you. And a lot of people do, you're right. People say helping people all the time, so I'm always backing up. Well, part 1B is, what does helping people mean to you? But it's that changing that one life.
Right.
Right. Knowing that at the end of the day, you did something to better somebody's life.
Right.
I love it. I get it.
I've been an EMS instructor. I was an instructor with Athens Technical College for, if I can say that.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, man.
For 5 years, and it's teaching students and trying to make them understand that while a non-emergent call is the same old for you, it's the worst. It could be the worst possible day for somebody else.
Exactly.
And that you have to think of it that way. And holding a hand, a lot of times, social work is more important, or just as important to us as the saving lives. And you have to keep that in mind.
I used to always say to the people who rode with me, then as I became a teacher, everybody needs help sometimes.
Right.
And that means getting them to dialysis. That means, you know, a little lady whose stomach hurts, we think it's just a thing that turns out to be something else. You know, sometimes I had a patient, I'm sure you've had these similar patients, where we got called for chest pains multiple times a day, and they were just bored, not bored, I'm sorry, they were alone and needed human contact. So ultimately, me and my partner, instead of letting her call 911, we'd come and see her every third day for a while.
Right.
And just give her that human contact. You're talking about that. It's we're treating the person and not just the problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, it's a huge thing. So you obviously got in EMS and became a medic. Then you also became an instructor. What other certifications? What other things do you do to help people?
Like I said, I've been a critical care medic since 2009. Just trying to further this part of my career as much as I can. I actually last March I went and kind of did something different. I actually work in the ER at Elbert Memorial Hospital also as a paramedic, and they utilize us there. And then from there I've expanded into the hospital, and I'm now their emergency management coordinator. So
nice.
And part of that will be they've asked me to start developing a mobile integrated healthcare or paramedicine program that's going to operate out of the hospital. We're investigating with that.
There happens to be a booth up here that I'll talk to you about that, I'm sure.
Okay, awesome.
We met him at the EMS World Expo, and we're going to interview him later. That's why I know he's here, but can't recommend him. I don't know him that well, but there's people. I love the community medicine, the proactiveness of what you're trying to do.
And just like exactly what you were talking about going out and seeing those frequent flyers, those ones that call a lot. Because it only takes one time for us to be complacent and them to be genuine.
Yes.
And then we're behind the 8 ball.
Exactly. Exactly. That might fall into the next question. You might have something different, but over your career, what's something that's changed for the positive in the industry of EMS?
For the positive, I think the biggest thing that I've seen for the positive with EMS is that we have gone to evidence-based medicine instead of that's what somebody said.
Yeah.
The story that I've been told over the years was that one person back in 1971 said, you know, it'd be a good idea to put somebody on a backboard. So we adopted that, and we've been putting a curved spine on a flat board for many, many years.
You can look it up. It was a study of 100 patients. And out of those 100 trauma patients, one showed that possibly the backboard saved them from having more, and then we ran with it. It blew my mind when I learned that.
Right.
It's crazy.
And evidence, we're finally switching our gears and saying, you know what? What's the evidence showing us? What is it? What's actually good for the patient versus that's the way we've always done it. So us coming out of the dark ages, so to speak, and actually thinking about what we're doing, and because EMS is still in its infancy if you look at the total amount of time we've been doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's going to take for us to to become legitimate and to become respected is to realize that a lot of stuff that we do is not the stuff we should do, and I think that's where we're headed.
I love it, absolutely. I joke about, I've been in the field 22 years, how CPR has changed a dozen times, but it's always because of that evidence-based process. What is something in the field currently that you see as general we're struggling with, or maybe you're struggling with specifically, that needs to change?
In the field,
or just in EMS in general, fire EMS, mobile healthcare.
The biggest problem that we're having right now is as the nation changes and you can go to a fast food restaurant and make $15 an hour, our pay hasn't changed much, and we're not attracting the people that want to be in EMS anymore. Those that are still here have been here and are still here because of the noble causes that they got into it, because they knew they were not going to get rich. But it's hard to attract people into the business when they're thinking about a new career, and all we have is the intrinsic values that we can talk about, because there's so much more out there that you could do for the same amount of money. That and here lately with COVID-19 and other things that are really beating us down, and it's hospital and pre-hospital both. But all of us are weary. We're just tired.
That's a great word for it. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that's hurting us right now. And as far as it's going into the future, I've said it all along, the biggest problem with EMS is our diversity. We go from volunteer EMS all the way up to a paid, and then a third-party service or government service versus fire EMS, and all of them are so many, they're different
siloed
animals.
And
right, and we're not together. We're not a cohesive unit. That's
that's what I've been talking about.
When nursing all got together and realized, they said, we're tired of being abused, and they all got together. They went and got themselves education, and they said, if you want us, you're going to have to pay us. And they earned the respect and demanded the respect that way. And until we do that, until we get on the same page, until we actually start educating ourselves better, in my opinion, I don't like where we're going now as far as dumbing ourselves down. With the state is saying, well, you don't have to have as much. We're going to go to an EMT and 2 EMTs, not to.
Well, there's a balance there.
There's a balance, but instead of paying there's a demand and a supply, and typically when the supply goes down and demand is up, the pay raises.
Right.
And instead of doing that, we're diluting our.
Well, if I could argue with you for a second, just for fun.
Sure.
The state doesn't pay us, right? It's Hall County or whatever service you're with that pays you.
Correct.
And isn't everybody having problems getting anybody in the field?
Right.
So if I'm running a private ambulance service and I take the 2 EMTs or the EMT-R and the EMT, that leaves you the medics to come work, and then your Hall County has to make the pay up.
Okay. So and if we're talking private ambulance services, once again, that's a different animal, and the reason why we are so diverse.
Right.
And it's the reason why we're having this conversation like we are right now. The thing is that when you have a 911 service and you're putting a first responder or an EMR and an EMT on a truck, okay, the level of care goes down.
It is a different level of care.
And that EMR and that EMT are not going to be able to treat a cardiac event.
Not to the level that a paramedic can treat it.
So, and in the end, the public is who suffers.
That still comes down to your service making that choice versus the state making a way, I think. I mean, and this is what we talk. It's all voices and ideas. This is not you're wrong and I'm wrong. It's just ideas.
Yeah, right. And the thing is that the service is run by a board and is run by a county, which looks at nothing but numbers. They don't look at the people.
Right.
Okay, those are the ones that are making the decisions, and when they see that, hey, we could run this truck for this amount of money instead of this amount of money, let's do that. And a lot of times EMS or the department itself is taking out of that.
Right.
And it's the board and the counties and the ones that crunch the numbers are the ones that's actually making those decisions.
I absolutely agree. And this is where I think One EMS could help you specifically, is we bring our voice to it. Our whole goal with One EMS and the voice of EMS is to be the voice. So to talk about your issue specifically and help educate the people who are looking at the numbers, to not just look at the numbers. To educate the public, for them not to go, just give me an ambulance, I don't want to pay for it, to help everybody understand the moving parts. You're absolutely right. We love to look, when I say we, I mean the general societal we We love to look at something, why wasn't EMS there on time? We love to look at numbers. If I'm sitting on that board and go, why can't you? I've sat with commissioners, retired commissioners, when I was making barely $30,000 a year, couldn't feed my family, and they're like, why don't we cut out this overtime because we're doing 24/48?
Sure.
And I had to educate them, and I was not polite, I was very rude, and I shouldn't have been, but I was like, let me tell you, in your retirement, you're making more than me. I'm a paramedic, I'm making $30,000 a year, I'm about to file bankruptcy because I care about this county, and you won't pay me more than $10 an hour to run 24/48 hours at a time,
right,
and save your life. And they went, that's the first time they'd heard that. And they went, so that's what we're doing as One EMS, is help bringing that voice together so that people can understand the different complexities and levels that you're talking about.
Right, right.
So thank you for being on with us today. I want to thank Veritas Equipment for help sponsor us, and then it's their voice, McGriff Insurance, Tim's Billing, and Stryker, because at the end of the day, we all have a voice and we need to bring it together. Jessica, I need you and Jason to help me out with this one. At the end of the day, we are One EMS.
One EMS.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Absolutely.